Our channel NEET BIO Simplified Biology. In this video, we are gonna see Digestion and Absorption chapter in just 25 slides. This video will be helpful to crack NEET and 11th CBSE Biology exam. In this chapter, we will learn 5 main sections of digestion and absorption. These are the sections we are gonna learn in this chapter. Digestive system, which includes both alimentary canal and digestive glands, digestion of food, absorption of digested products, assimilation of digested products, and last but not least, disorders of digestive system. Let's see the digestive system first. This is the overall diagrammatic representation of digestive system. The alimentary canal begins with the anterior opening called mouth, which leads to oral or buccal cavity. The oral cavity leads to a short pharynx and then into esophagus, which opens into a J-shaped bag called stomach. The stomach opens into the small intestine, where most of the digested products are being absorbed and send the undigested and unabsorbed food products into large intestine. The undigested and unabsorbed food products in the form of feces removed through the anus. Let's see the mouth. The mouth is a narrow slit covered by upper and lower lips, which leads to oral or buccal cavity. The oral cavity contains teeth, tongue, palate, and salivary glands. First we will see the palate. The palate forms the roof of the oral cavity. There are 2 types of palate, namely hard and soft palate. Hard palate, made up of maxilla and palatine. Soft palate, contains uvula, which closes internal nares during food swallowing. Next we are gonna see about the teeth. There are 4 types of teeth in the adult human. They are 4 incisors, 2 canines, 4 premolars, and 3 molars. The development of teeth and their arrangement in the mouth refers to the term called dentition. There are various types of dentitions based on various factors. Let's see those types of dentition. Based on the know of teeth during the animal's lifetime, there are 3 types of dentition. They are monophyodont, the animal with only 1 set of teeth during their lifespan. Example: whales. Diphyodont, the animal with 2 sets of teeth during their lifespan, namely, temporary or deciduous teeth and permanent or adult teeth. Example: human. Polyphyodont, the animal with many sets of teeth during their lifespan. Example: fishes, amphibians. Based on the teeth shape, there are 2 types, homodont and heterodont. Homodont, the animal with same type of teeth. Example: fishes. Heterodont, the animal with different types of teeth. Example: human. 3. Based on the cusps, there are 4 types. They are bunodont, the animal with small spherical cusps. Example: human. Lophodont, the animal with blunt cusps. Example: elephant. Secodont, the animal with pointed cusps. Example: carnivores. Selenodont, the animal with semilunar, crescent-shaped cusps. Example: ruminators. Fourth, based on the arrangement of teeth in alveolar bone, pleodont, teeth are partially fixed on the socket. Example: snakes. Acrodont, teeth are superficially fixed on the socket. Example: fishes. Thecodont, teeth are embedded on the socket. Example: human, crocodile, mammals. Fifth type, based on the amount of crown and pulp. I will explain what is crown and what is pulp in the teeth structure. Hypsodont, also known as smiling teeth, the teeth with more crown and less pulp. Brachiodont, also known as cheek teeth, the teeth with less crown and more pulp. Next we are going to learn about the structure of teeth. An adult human has 32 permanent teeth. As we already discussed, adult human have are of 4 kinds, namely, incisors, also known as cutting teeth, canines, also known as tearing teeth, premolars, and molars, also known as grinding and crushing teeth. Dental formula of an adult human is 2123 by 2123, which means on either sides 2 upper incisors, 2 lower incisors, 1 upper canine, 1 lower canine, 2 upper premolars, 2 lower premolars, 3 upper molars, and 3 lower molars, which accounts for about 16 teeth on either side, so totally 32 teeth on both sides. For teens it is 2122 by 2122, which means totally 28 teeth, and for baby it is 2102 by 2102, so totally 20 teeth. The last molar teeth is also called wisdom teeth. The gap between 2 teeth is called diastema. Example: frog, rabbit. The gap between mouth and teeth is called vestibule. Let's learn about the structure of teeth in detail. The teeth can be divided into 3 regions, namely, crown, neck, and root. In crown, the enamel, dentin, and pulp cavity will be there. As we seen earlier, if the crown is more and pulp is less, it is hypsodont, and vice versa, it is brachiodont. In neck region, the root canal will be there and the teeth are embedded into the gum. In root region, the cement, bone and nerve and blood vessels can be seen. The next part of the oral cavity is tongue. The tongue is the freely movable muscular organ attached to the oral cavity through frenulum. The upper surface of the tongue has small projections called papillae which bears the taste buds. The picture shows which part of the tongue is responsible for which taste. This region sends bitter taste, this for sweet and salt, this is for sour and this is for umami. The papillae are of 4 different types. They are velate, foliate, filiform and fungiform. First one is circumvallate, velate. It is an inverted V-shaped arrangement in spherical shape which contains taste buds. Next foliate. It is a leaf-shaped vestigial papillae which doesn't contain taste buds. Third one is filiform. It is a white-colored conical-shaped papillae which also doesn't contain taste buds. And the last one is fungiform. It is a pink-colored spherical-shaped papillae which contains taste buds. The last part of the oral cavity is salivary glands. The salivary glands produces a saliva of about 6.8 pH. The saliva produces 1,000 to 1,500 milliliters of water, which is about 98% of water required by our body. The saliva contains enzymes and electrolytes like sodium, potassium, chlorine. The saliva contains enzymes namely salivary amylase, ptyalin converts 30% carbohydrate in the food, lysozyme and thiocyanate is an antibacterial agent and IgA immunoglobulin A. The mixture of food and saliva is known as bolus. The 4 kinds of salivary glands. Infraorbital gland which is the smallest, parotid gland, the largest, submandible and sublingual gland. The parotid gland is located below the earlobe, submandible at lower jaw and sublingual below the tongue. The major duct of the parotid gland is Stenson's, the submandible is Wartson's and sublingual is Bartholin's. The parotid gland opens at upper second molar and secretes serous. The submandible opens at lower incisor and secretes both mucus and serous which is mucin, and sublingual opens at below the tongue and also secretes mucin. The third part of the alimentary canal is pharynx. The pharynx serves as a common passage for both food and air. The esophagus and the trachea opens into it. Epiglottis is a cartilaginous flap that prevents the entry of food into glottis, opening of pipe, during swallowing. There are 3 types of pharynx based on the location of the opening. First type is nasopharynx. It is a ciliated columnar pseudo-stratified epithelium where the internal nares open. Second type is OR alpharynx. It is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium moist where the oral cavity opens. The third type is laryngopharynx. It is also a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium but dry where the larynx opens. The picture shows the Waldeyer's ring which explains the 4 types of tonsils present in the pharynx, namely, pharyngeal tonsil, tubal tonsil, palatine tonsil and lingual tonsil. The fourth part of the alimentary canal is esophagus. The thin, long tube which extends posteriorly passing through the neck, thorax and diaphragm and leads to stomach. Gastroesophageal sphincter present between the esophagus and stomach regulates the opening of esophagus into stomach. The picture shows the histology of alimentary canal. The wall of the alimentary canal consists of 4 layers running from the esophagus to rectum. The outermost layer is serosa which is made of thin mesothelium. The next layer is muscularis which is made of smooth muscles usually arranged into an inner circular and outer longitudinal layer. The submucosal layer is made up of loose connective tissues like nerves, blood and lymph vessels. The innermost layer lining the lumen is called mucosa which forms the villi and microvilli-like projections. The fifth part of the alimentary canal is stomach. The J-shaped bag located at upper left portion of abdominal cavity is called stomach. It has 4 major regions, namely, cardiac region which is the opening, fundic region which is the uppermost, body region which is the central part and pyloric region which opens into small intestine. The sixth part of the alimentary canal is small intestine. There are 3 regions of small intestine, namely, duodenum which is C-shaped, the long coiled middle region called jejunum and highly coiled ileum. The given diagram is a section of small intestinal mucosa showing villi which contains capillaries and lymph vessels. The seventh part of the alimentary canal is large intestine. Large intestine is divided into 3 regions. First region is cecum which hosts symbiotic microbes and it is region where appendix arises. The second region is colon which consists of 4 parts, namely ascending colon, descending colon, transverse colon and a sigmoid colon. The last region is rectum which opens into the anus. Until now we have seen the parts of alimentary canal. Now we are gonna see the digestive glands in the digestive system. The digestive glands associated with alimentary canal includes salivary glands, pancreas and liver. Salivary glands produces saliva. Liver is the largest gland which weighs about 1.2 to 1.5 kilograms. Structural and functional unit of the liver is hepatic lobules covered by Glisson's capsule. The bile secreted by hepatic cells are stored in a gallbladder through hepatic duct. Gallbladder duct and hepatic duct forms the common bile duct. Hepatic duct and pancreatic duct, hepatopancreatic duct, opens into duodenum which is guarded by sphincter of Oddi. Next, pancreas, which is located between the limbs of C-shaped duodenum, in which exocrine secretes pancreatic juice and endocrine secretes hormones, insulin and glucagon. Now we are gonna see them in detail. First, pancreas. Pancreas is an heterocrine gland because it secretes both endo and exocrine. Pancreas contains 4 types of cells. See the diagram. They are alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells and acini cells. Alpha cells. Alpha cells produces glucagon which increases the blood glucose level. Beta cells. It produces insulin which decreases the blood glucose level. Delta cells. Produces somatostatin which decreases the secretion of alpha and beta to maintain the balance. Acini cells. Produces pancreatic juice, 7.5 to 8.3 picohenries, which poured into duodenum via 2 ducts, namely, main pancreatic duct also known as duct of Wirsung and accessory pancreatic duct also known as duct of Santoricis. Next one is gastric gland. The mucosa of the stomach contains gastric glands which produces different enzymes. The gastric glands contains different types of cells which is responsible for producing various enzymes. First one is chief cells or peptic or zymogen. It produces pepsinogen, prorenin, gastric amylase, gastric lipase. Next one is oxyntic or parietal cells. It produces HCl and vitamin B12. Third one is mucus or goblet cells which secrete mucus, then argentophil cells which secrete somatostatin. It helps to reduce the gastric juice to maintain the balance and histamine. Last one is gastric cells. It produces gastrin which stimulates gastric juice secretion for about 2,000 to 3,000 milliliters per day. In adults, the pH of the gastric juice is 1.5 to 2.5 and in children it is 5.0. Let's see liver. Liver. The liver is the largest gland which weighs about 1.2 to 1.5 kilogram. Now see the diagram. The liver contains right and left hepatic duct. The structural and functional unit of the liver is Kupffer cells. The main functions of the liver is the bile secretes phospholipids, cholesterol, bile pigments namely bilirubin and biliverdin, and bile salts like sodium glycolate, sodium bicarbonate and sodium toricholate. It also helps in the conversion of glucose into glycogen, glycogen into glucose, fat and proteins into glucose, proteins and carbs into lipids, beta-carotene into vitamin A and ammonia into urea. The last digestive gland is intestinal gland. The mucus and goblet cells forms the succus entericus which is the intestinal gland. The intestinal gland contains 2 kinds of glands, namely, crypts of Liberkin and Brunner's gland. The crypts of Liberkin contains 2 cells, the Paneth cells secretes lysozyme and argentophil cells secretes hormones. The Brunner's gland is located at the submucosa of duodenum which is in small intestine. It secretes mucus and water. This slide is all about the secretions of pancreas and intestine. The pancreatic juices includes trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, pancreatic amylase, pancreatic nuclease, pancreatic lipase. The intestinal juice includes disaccharides like maltase, sucrase and lactase, dipeptidases, nucleases like nucleotidases and nucleosidases and lipase. Until now we saw about the alimentary canal and digestive glands of the digestive system in detail. Now we are gonna see how the digestion of food happens in our digestive system. First, when we swallow food through mouth, it enters into the buccal cavity. The main function of the buccal cavity is the mastication of food and facilitation of swallowing by forming a bolus. The lysozyme presents in the buccal cavity prevents the infection. It is a place where 30% of the carbohydrates broke down. The buccal cavity contains salivary amylase of pH 6.8 converts the carbohydrates into monosaccharides and disaccharides which is maltose. Then the bolus conveyed into the pharynx and esophagus by deglutition through a muscular contraction called peristalsis. The gastroesophageal sphincter in the esophagus controls the food passage into stomach. In stomach, the food stores for about 4 to 5 hours. Then the food mixes with gastric juices secreted by the stomach by the churning movement of the muscular wall called chyme. In stomach, the following conversions happen. In the presence of HCl of pH 1.8, pepsinogen is converted into pepsin, which is a proteolytic enzyme. In the presence of HCl of pH 1.8, pro-renin is converted into renin, which is a casein used for digestion of milk products. In the presence of pepsin, proteins are converted into peptones and proteoses. In the presence of renin, seasons are converted into paraseasonate. The remaining bolus is passed down into the small intestine. The small intestine secrete bile, pancreatic and intestinal juice. In small intestine, the following conversions happen. In the presence of enterokinase, trypsinogen is converted into trypsin. In the presence of trypsin, procarboxypeptide and chymotrypsinogen are converted into carboxypeptidase and chymotrypsin. In the presence of trypsin, carboxypeptidase and chymotrypsin, proteins, peptones and proteoses are converted into dipeptides. In the presence of amylase, polysaccharides like remaining 70% carbohydrates are converted into disaccharides. In the presence of lipases, triglycerides like fats are converted into diglycerides and later broke down into monoglycerides like fatty acids and glycerol. In the presence of nucleuses, the nucleic acid is converted into. In the presence of nucleotidase, the nucleotides are converted into nucleosides. In the presence of nucleosidase A, the nucleosides are converted into pentose sugar and nitrogen base. In the presence of dipeptidases, the dipeptides are converted into amino acids and monopeptides. In the presence of maltase, the maltose is converted into glucose and glucose. In the presence of sucrase, the sucrose is converted into glucose and fructose. In the presence of lactase, the lactose is converted into glucose and galactose. The undigested and unabsorbed substances called feces enters into large intestine through ileocecal valve. Now we are going to see how the digested foods are being absorbed. The absorption of digested products is the process by which the end products of digestion pass through the intestinal mucosa into the blood or lymph. It takes place in mouth, stomach, small intestine and large intestine, but maximum absorption takes place in small intestine. The absorption takes place in two methods of transport, namely active and passive. The passive transportation depends on the concentration gradient, which is also called as simple diffusion, example glucose, amino acids, chlorine, and facilitated transportation. Absorption takes place with the help of carrier proteins, example glucose, amino acids. Water absorption takes place through osmosis. The active transportation requires concentration gradient. Example amino acids, glucose, sodium ions. Fatty acids and glycerol cannot be absorbed into the blood as they are insoluble. So the fats and glycerols are incorporated into small droplets called micelles. Then they reformed into very small protein-coated fat globules called chylomicrons, which are transported into the lymph vessels in the villi. These lymph vessels ultimately release the absorbed substances into the bloodstream. This table shows the absorption of digested products in different parts of digestive system. In mouth, certain drugs in contact with the mouth mucosa and lower side of tongue are being absorbed. In stomach, water, simple sugars and alcohol are being absorbed. In small intestine, glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol, amino acids are being absorbed. In large intestine, water, drugs and some minerals are being absorbed. The last process of digestion is assimilation of digested products. The utilization of the absorbed substances when they finally reaches the tissue for various activities is called assimilation. Digestive wastes are eliminated as feces through the anus. At last, the disorders of digestive system. With this we are going to complete this chapter. There are various disorders caused due to various digestion factors. Let's see one by one. Intestinal tract inflammation, caused by tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm and pinworm. Jaundice, due to deposits of bile pigments. The symptoms include liver affected, skin and eyes turn yellow. Vomiting, the feeling of nausea. Diarrhea, the abnormal frequency of bowel movement and increased fecal liquidity. Constipation, the retained feces due to irregular bowel movement. Indigestion is due to inadequate enzyme secretion, anxiety, food poisoning, overeating and spicy food. Protein energy malnutrition, PEM, it causes marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus is due to protein deficiency and causes declined growth rate and body weight and even brain and mental faculties. Kwashiorkor is due to protein and calorie deficiency and causes extensive edema and swelling of body parts. Thank you for watching. Please do like, comment and share. If you have any doubts, share it in the comment section. Stay tuned on every Friday for new videos. For more videos, please subscribe the channel.